Good morning, everyone. Today we're diving into the latest developments in the fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. What was meant to be a step toward peace has once again been thrown into doubt, with both sides accusing each other of violating the agreement. Let's break down the key events, the ongoing tensions, and what this means for the future of the region. Hostage releases and Palestinian prisoners. The ceasefire, now in its first phase, was designed to facilitate the release of Israeli hostages held by Hamas in exchange for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. So far, 6 Israeli hostages have been freed, with over 600 Palestinian prisoners scheduled for release, the largest single exchange to date. However, this process has hit a major snag. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu speaking. Netanyahu, Hamas has cynically used hostages for propaganda purposes. We cannot allow this to continue. Anchor in studio. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has indefinitely delayed the release of Palestinian prisoners, accusing Hamas of exploiting the hostage situation for political gain. Hamas, in turn, has accused Israel of deliberately trying to disrupt the ceasefire agreement. This back and forth has become a recurring theme, with both sides trading blame and threatening to derail the entire process. Chaotic handover. One of the first major disputes arose during an early hostage handover. Israel complained about chaotic scenes, claiming the physical safety of the hostages was jeopardized. Then, Hamas was accused of breaking the agreement by failing to release a female civilian hostage, Arbel Yehud. In response, Israel delayed allowing hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to return to northern Gaza for 48 hours. The issue was resolved when Arbel Yehud was freed in an extra handover, but the tension had already escalated. Hamas spokesperson speaking. Hamas spokesperson. Israel has not lived up to its commitments. We will not proceed with further handovers until our conditions are met. Anchor in studio. Hamas has accused Israel of failing to permit essential supplies like heavy machinery, tents, and caravans into Gaza. This led to Hamas refusing to carry out a scheduled hostage handover, prompting threats from both Netanyahu and US President Donald Trump that all-out war would resume if the hostages weren't freed as agreed. Under pressure, Hamas eventually released the hostages, but the fragility of the ceasefire was laid bare. Release of Shiri Bibas and her children. Another shocking moment came when Hamas handed over a body they claimed was that of Shiri Bibas, a hostage whose abduction on October 7, 2023 became a symbol of the horrors of that day. The body turned out not to be hers, sparking outrage in Israel. Netanyahu denounced Hamas for what he called a cruel and evil violation of the agreement. Hamas later provided another body, which was confirmed to be Shiri's, but the damage to trust between the two sides was already done. Netanyahu speaking. Netanyahu, this is a cruel and evil violation of the agreement. We will not tolerate such actions. Anchor in studio. These incidents have highlighted just how fragile the ceasefire process remains. They've also contributed to the delay in talks on the second phase, which was supposed to begin earlier this month. With the first phase due to end in just a week, time is running out to secure a lasting peace. Hamas spokesperson speaking. Hamas spokesperson. We are willing to release all remaining hostages in one go, but only if Israel withdraws all its forces from Gaza and agrees to a permanent end to the war. Anchor in studio. Anchor. Hamas has laid out its conditions for the next phase: a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and a permanent end to hostilities. Israel, however, has demanded the complete disarmament of Hamas, a condition Hamas has so far rejected. The stage-managed ceremonies at each hostage handover, which Netanyahu has strongly criticized, are seen as Hamas's attempt to show it remains a force to be reckoned with in Gaza. Protests in Israel. In Israel, the debate over how to proceed is intensifying. Voices on the right are calling for a resumption of the war against Hamas, while the families of the hostages, backed by much of the Israeli public, are urging the government to prioritize the release of the remaining hostages above all else. Family member of a hostage speaking. Family member, bring them home. That's all that matters. We cannot lose sight of what's at stake. Anchor in studio. Adding to the uncertainty is US President Donald Trump's plan for Gaza, which has introduced new complexities. The third phase of the ceasefire is meant to set Gaza on a path toward reconstruction and renewal. But Trump's proposal envisions the removal of Palestinians from the enclave, a plan that has been met with widespread criticism. Arab diplomats meeting. Arab states are now rushing to propose an alternative plan, one that would allow Palestinians to remain in Gaza while the territory is rebuilt. However, the future governance of Gaza remains a key sticking point. Israel, Hamas, the Palestinian Authority, and Arab countries all have conflicting visions for how Gaza should be governed, making negotiations even more challenging. Anchor in studio. These issues will require difficult and delicate negotiations, conducted under the constant threat of a return to war. Some on both sides continue to advocate for a military solution, further complicating the path to peace. Mediators from Egypt, Qatar, and the US. For now, mediators from Egypt, Qatar, and the United States are working tirelessly to keep the ceasefire on track. Their immediate goal is to ensure the first phase is successfully completed. But the road ahead is fraught with challenges. Anchor in the studio. The Israel-Hamas ceasefire remains on a knife's edge, with both sides accusing each other of bad faith and violations. While the release of hostages and prisoners is a step toward peace, the path to a lasting resolution is far from clear. As the first phase draws to a close, the world watches anxiously to see whether this fragile truce can hold, or whether the region will once again descend into conflict. Stay tuned for more updates on this developing story. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for the latest news. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next report.